We are doing a two-sided project. This was actually designed by Vetric Software, who makes the software. They're the design software. So they designed this for CNC, and it is a two-sided project. Most people do one-sided, but this particular piece of software allows you to do a carving, three-dimensional carving, and in two-sided. So it's kind of an interesting piece. I wish I could lay claim to fame, but this is what it kind of looks like at the stage of when it's not quite the raw board, but it is actually finished with the job, and at this point you would cut that out and just do some hand finishing and with it. So that's kind of where this piece will end up going. This is cherry, excuse me, and we're going to fix it to this temporary spoil board right here using a couple different methods to anchor it down. I've kind of pre-marked this off, and I'm going to use a little bit of screws, and I'm going to use some actual nails to fixate this to this particular board here. So that's what I'm about to do. Sometimes wood is fickle, and it still wants to come up. So I use sometimes a secondary. These little brad nails are often really good for preventing wood from popping up. So that's pretty much anchored down right there. But for kicks, and because you're here, I'll go ahead and throw one of these in there, right there. Now, I have to tell the machine where home is. Home is, tell me where this board is in space, in reference to this whole bed, and tell me what size bit you're using, and tell me where the end of that bit is in space in relationship to this board. So home is going to be set right here on this corner. The first thing I have to do is change that bit, and that's what I'm about to do right now. This thing's about to sweep over here, and I am going to put in a 1/4 inch end mill in this. And the good thing about Shapeoko, and it's unique to Shapeoko, is they have something called a bit setter. No matter what size bit you put in here, it's going to measure in space the end of the bit. It's going to determine where that is. And this is unique. I have not seen this in even advanced machines. Certainly, unless you have an automatic tool changer, then that's something totally different. Now, mathematically, within the computer, it now knows where this is in space, the end of that bit right there. Now I have to go tell it where the surface of the board is. And so I've got to jog this to get it out of the way a little bit. I'm going to move it to the center. And this is a device that says, find the corner of this board right through here. I am going to jog this over here and kind of get this close. I just got to make sure it's lined up over that little hole right there. Now it's going to go measure the corners here. Uh-oh, we had a problem. And this is about to reset is what's about to happen here. Not sure what happened on that.
So there's an notches right there on that.
Yeah, this thing is mathematically determined and measured, the height, the width, and the diameter of that. Then it's going to come over and touch the top. So it's finding this corner along the X and Y axis, then it's going to find the top of that surface. By touching this block, it knows, you know, the point it is located. And it wants, by default, when I reset it, it wants to remeasure that bit. And that's what it's about to do. Now, I'm not sure what happened on that. I'm actually going to send it to the previous home, which is kind of close to that space. This machine is fantastic, except for one thing. You've got a rack and pinion system here. You got a ball screw system here. This thing is beefy, hardy. Lumen extrusion full table, rails. The one thing though is back here, this is a belt tensioning right through here. And this thing can stretch and it will throw an axis off and your whole cut will just come off and just keep going way off and just ruin a piece. And it has happened frequently. Well, in my opinion, too frequently. Although it has not happened in about 4 weeks. So this thing has been perfect. For this length of time, and so, but in the meantime, I've ordered a new machine that is much larger than this one and much more robust. So that was the previous home position right there. But I've moved the board up. It was set right here, but because I've screwed and made holes there, I'm just moving the board a little bit more forward. Everything should be good. Now, if this does this again, I'm going to switch out to what they call a measuring bit that is truly conductive. I've never had a problem with this doing that. Magnet on, everything is good. Engineering, I tell you what, the engineering that goes into these things just blows my mind. And I mean, we're only talking about measuring something in space, but then you get into the power of the spindle and how far and how deep and at what rate to go through wood, and at this point slow down, then speed up at this part. It becomes very... Now I am going to make one little change in this. I will tell you, in the software, this design is this whole thing is supposed to be shifted up by about 1 inch. So I'm going to shift the Y direction up on this right now so that maybe this thing will you know, come up a little bit and start up here rather than right here on the edge. That's what I'm about to try to do here. So I'm going to set this, I'm going to tell the Y direction, go forward a little bit. And then I'm going to what they call zero the Y. So we are done at that point. So we are at the point where we're ready to cut. This first cut, I'm going to load the first file. The first round of cutting is going to cut what they call the registration. There's 3 registration pinholes. It's going to cut 3 of those. Then it's going to cut the roughing out of this part here. This is the thing I would recommend dust collection on because there's chunks flying up at this point. In the next stage, we could probably take the dust collection off. It'll create a lot of dust, but it'll look more interesting for filming. So I'm going to put a dust shoe on. I got 2 different sizes. I got a 2-inch and a 3-inch. And I'm going to turn this on and this gets loud. Takes about 10 minutes for this cut. This is just oil and wax. I've never used lacquer before. I want to lacquer one of these. What do you think? What's that? Oh yeah. I want to try it. I've got a sprayer. I've got an Erlex sprayer. That's what I'm going to do with that rattle can. So the next step is to take that and we're going to do this part where it smooths all that out. So that first part just hogs away the material, gets the bulk of it away, and now we're going to put in a carving bit that's more delicate, and it's going to start in the center and just start going up and down to create this little valley appearance, and goes back and forth and slowly working its way out until it comes all the way out to this. So this is the part that takes about an hour and a half. No, I've got a much bigger machine coming, and I got to take out that whole cabinet for it, and it's going to go in this direction, and this one's going to be sold. So this is a tapered bit. It goes to a finer point, to 1/8 of an inch on the end of it. They're called ball nose bits, but people call them carving bits. Now, here's something we're going to try. Let me finish this. Just for filming purposes, I don't know, this is obviously going to make some dust, but for audio or visual, we're just going to not turn that on and see what happens. And eventually then I probably will turn it on, but I'll leave the brush off to see if this thing sucks up enough, you know, without the brush. But I'm kind of curious to see this myself and kind of see how loud this is. So it's a different cut, so it's kind of like loading a new file. There's a preview of it. I'm going to go ahead and get this off the table. I'm looking for chips. You don't want really fine dust, you want chunks. And so that's what I was looking at. So that's this process for the next 1 hour and 20 minutes. This is by Amana. They call this a spectra coated, which is supposed to make this thing last a lot longer. And these are really good bits. This is my favorite bit in this size. But it doesn't conduct the electricity. When you do that touch off, it fails every time. So